So the CMC hearing has come to an end, and it's probably one of the weirdest ones I've seen so far. There was multiple opportunities for Microsoft to close this deal in this CMC hearing, or just go to the 28th CAT tribunal date and actually have a really good chance of just just basically winning over the CMA. Even the judge hinted that going to the 28th, you've got a really good chance to win because there's no real case for the CMA. But Microsoft decided that that wasn't what they wanted to do, and they continued to pursue their joint appeal of stay with the CMA. And for the longest part in the trial, the judge basically found this really odd and failed to understand how and why this was actually happening. Of course, I don't blame him, because not long ago, Microsoft came aboard and turned around and made a big fuss of how this was supposed to be really urgent, and the whole case was supposed to be expedited forward, and the hearings were done in record time, and everyone bent over backwards to make this happen from the UK legal system. And then when the CMA turns around and asks for an extension, the Microsoft's lawyers then intervene and say no, they're not happy with this, and appeal against it, and they get granted that appeal. And then a week or two later, especially right after the FTC's announcement, they both decide to apply for a stay, and that basically means an adjournment here in the UK, where the trial is basically delayed, put on pause, until they restructure their deal or their case, and then they supply it to the CMA. It was really weird how this all turned out, and even Judge Marcus Smith, who was the only one on the panel today because the others couldn't attend due to short notice, was not only baffled but honestly bewildered at what he was witnessing. He just couldn't understand what was going on, because from this being a high profile case, urgent case that needed to be resolved before the 18th to close, to now they're both willing to be okay. And even the judge questioned, the ruling, asking, did the FTC's ruling have any impact? And the CMA were like, no, it had absolutely no impact. We were going to do this without the FTC, when we all know that's a whole load of bull, because their interactions came after the FTC announcement was made, but they're still claiming that, the FTC's announcements had nothing to do with it, and that the legal bearings of the FTC's case has nothing to do with what the British legal system has to follow. Which is true, but it's still a precedent, and one that probably will be looked at going forward. Even Judge Marcus Smith, mentioned that this is still important. The notion of Sony also came up on the weekend, saying that, Sony has now signed the deal. We haven't seen the deal, but they've signed the deal. So what is it that people, the CMA is actually fighting for at this point, with Sony out the way? The CMA was trying to downplay the fact that Sony signed a deal and agreed to terms, but Marcus Smith, the judge, had none of it. He was saying this is not insignificant. You can't just brush this aside. This is huge. This is a huge turn of events, and basically the group that he was defending for the past 28 weeks, 32 weeks. Has now agreed to sign and move on with their life, and obviously you have not done that. So where does that leave you? Now, what's happening here, from my understanding, is that the CMA and Microsoft in the background have been actually talking and have come to an agreement. To divest it, xCloud, and give it to BTEE over here. BT and EE are essentially merged company. And none of this information is public. And so when they were in court today, the judge was asking, what's changed? What can you tell me that can make me, allowed you to stay? Because the judge was pretty adamant that he wanted this to go to the 28th after all the effort that they put in. And they were telling him that we can't really tell you. We can't really put that information forward. We can't provide any of that details because it's not finalized yet, or it's still in the confidentiality stage between parties. Therefore, we can't really give you that information, even in court. Eventually, they gave Marcus Judge Smith the piece of paper, a document that I'm assuming outlined quite a bit of what was going on in the background. And after that document, he finally decided that, he's going to give them what they want. But it was a conditional stay as well. He basically told the CMA that I basically don't trust you. And I want you to provide me in writing reasons as to why this is going to take X amount of time, what your agenda is, what your plans are. And if they deviate from these 4 rules, then even though this is giving you a stay for now, it is only conditional, and I will basically overrule it and push forward with the trial on the 28th. So even the the Judge Marcus Smith could see through the CMA's BS and antics and shenanigans. It was really weird, but it was like both the CMA and Microsoft were fighting together for this deal. And every time Microsoft would say something and the Activision lawyer would say something, then the CMA would step in and go, no, we're not agreeing to that. We can't say that. But what we're saying is this and this and this, but we're not guaranteeing that we're going to pass your deal. And so this was my take from the whole thing. The CMA know that they've messed up. They've got no grounds. And the fact that they've blocked it, they haven't officially blocked it yet. The final order hasn't been made. And until that final order is made, there's nothing to quash. Now, Judge Marcus Smith actually wanted to quash the CMA's decision today and just push the Activision deal through. But Microsoft said, no, there's no need for that. They're very confident in their discussions and ongoing litigation with the CMA that this deal will go through without causing any harm to the CMA's reputation. Now, this is what I think is happening, right? The CMA essentially has realized that it's lost. There's no way it's going to actually win. Now, they probably turned around to Microsoft and said, right, look, with the FTC now out the way, and this is going to, to hell, we don't want to look weak. So what we need is for you to play ball and offer a divestiture of xCloud. We will give that to EE and let them deal with it and let them control it for the time being. How that's going to affect Game Pass overall, I'm not sure, but I suspect it's still going to stay the same, but it's just Microsoft won't be running the xCloud side of things in terms of the servers and stuff. That will all be probably in the hands of BTEE. Now, I think these discussions are going on in the background, and in order to save face with the CMA, they're going to go through a new investigation, because essentially the one that they blocked without the final order to say it's blocked was for market harm and for, fears of the cloud. However, with the new options to the CMA, new remedies that allow for divestiture of xCloud, that becomes kind of like a new deal, a new proposal, because now they're not looking at cloud and Activision Blizzard. They're just looking at Activision Blizzard, which there is no console harm because Sony has signed. So they can't now complain or bring up the harm of the market or the harm to Sony because Sony has signed. Everyone has signed a 10-year deal. So that part goes straight out the window. So all they have now is the cloud. And with the cloud being divested and given to EE, I think right now, for the next 2-3 weeks, that is what's going to be the big delay, where they kind of try to transfer all the legal aspects of xCloud over to EE. Now, the judge said that he could quash the deal multiple times. Microsoft said no. And the CMA basically was saying that, if we kind of close the deal now, Microsoft could turn around and pull back their decision to divert, for the cloud, essentially. They didn't say that in so many words because they're not allowed to say what the case is on, but we know it's on the cloud. But they basically said that Microsoft could pull back their agreement because they would be in a legal position to do that. And that is why they're not going. Basically, they don't trust Microsoft. I kind of don't blame them. At the end of the day, corporations are corporations, right? But I mean, the CMA has been shady all along, so we do know that as well. But it was really weird watching this trial because the judge was like, all right, so I tell you what, I'll just quash the deal. And they're both like, no, there's no need for that. And it all comes down to the fact that the CMA is trying to save face. And what they're going to essentially do is say, we stand by our decision of blocking the Microsoft and ABK merger. But with the new information, the new circumstances that have been brought towards us, Microsoft has bent the knee, and after an intensive investigation and scrutiny, we've realized that this is the best course of action, one that we are actually happy to go forward with, and have accepted the terms from Microsoft in order to pass the deal. Essentially, that is what is going to happen. Now, this will take 4 to 6 weeks, but they have said that they're going to try and fast track this as humanly possible. But before we continue, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe. It really means the world to me. We are trying to hit 3,000 subs, and hopefully we can actually get to that sooner rather than later. Well, thanks so much for your support. We've already smashed 2,000 subs, and it's absolutely awesome. On with the video. The judge has ordered a number of questions to the CMA as part of the conditional response that they need to provide the court, and I believe to Microsoft as well, in regards to the 4 rules, in regards to the stay of this. Basically what he's requesting from them is a legal document so they don't screw Microsoft over, because the judge, it seems, is happy to close the deal. So the judge, Marcus Smith, is perfectly happy to close the deal. He sees no objection in closing it. It's just the CMA now basically putting the brakes on hold, and I think Microsoft have now realized that this deal is going through. Now, what is the danger of them closing over the CMA? Right, so this is the problem, right? If they close over the CMA, which they can do, they have to be very careful, because if they actually make a single mistake in the UK market, they can be fined 10% of their global revenue. That's a lot of money. A lot of money, right? We're not just talking about their UK revenue. We are talking about their global revenue. They made 143 million profit. That's not the revenue that they're going to get fined by. I'm talking about the gross revenue. So they're going to lose way more than what Activision Blizzard is actually potentially worth, right? So that's a real big risk for Microsoft. And I'm pretty sure they wouldn't do anything to jeopardize that and get into that position. But all it takes is a single mistake, and the CMA and the FTC will be on them like a hawk. But this also prevents them from really buying anyone else. And we all know that Microsoft isn't done yet. They've repeatedly said, we are not done with acquisitions. I suspect Sega is on the cards. Destin thinks Take-Two are on the cards. I think that Sega and Atlas are probably the next 2 that are worth their while, because they have fantastic relationships with them, much like how Sony has a fantastic relationship with Square Enix. But if they go down the route of actually closing over the CMA, can you imagine the complications that they're going to put in front of Microsoft the moment they try to buy someone else? But by playing ball with the CMA, by not making them look stupid, by not making them look weak, like the FTC has been, I think this is overall a ploy to keep the CMA happy, to show that the CMA that they're willing to play ball and, you know, do what's needed to get the deal done and work with the CMA in any capacity to get this closed. And in my eyes, this is their way of trying to cement that future acquisitions won't have that scrutiny, because they're not going to have like a $69 billion purchase again, right? But it's this, you know, it it's the scrutiny that they're not going to have anymore when they say go to buy a company for 2 billion or 3 billion or 4 billion. It will just go through. But if they close over the CMA and they piss them off even more than they already are pissed, well, they're going to be on them like a laser. And they're going to be trying to block every single thing that they do. And that's something that they don't want. So in my opinion, this trial today, which went from 2:30 till about, what was it, 7:30? About 7 o'clock? It was a really long trial. It was about 5 hours long. And they actually extended the time it normally finishes, because it normally finishes at 5. But they finished it at 7 o'clock because they actually wanted to finish it today so they don't have to come back. And unfortunately, the documents that the CMA need to provide to the courts, the CMA said that they'll do their best to provide it by the end of play, but the judge said that's just not enough time, especially now that it's 7 o'clock. And Microsoft agreed as well that it's not enough time, so they said Thursday is when they will actually provide them with the documents. Now, this isn't to say that they can't approve the deal by tomorrow, but it's extremely unlikely. And as such, that's where we are right now with the case. Now, I want to go over to Twitter a little bit because there's some bits and bobs there. So I just want to check it out for like 2-3 minutes. And as you can see here, Bloomberg is reporting the Activision Blizzard deal isn't likely to close tomorrow. I've been saying the same all weekend. Activision isn't going to walk away, and both are close to resolving the CMA UK situation. And it's basically making the CMA look good. The CAT has agreed with some requirements to pause Microsoft's appeal of the CMA decision to block the Activision Blizzard merger. Both the CMA and Microsoft requested this, and it looks like we'll now likely see a small delay to the merger, 4 to 6 weeks. So the judge will allow CMA and Microsoft to get this deal done, but wants to make sure the CMA is not BSing them and is actually doing this in good faith to get this deal closed. And that was the whole point of Judge Marcus Smith. He was actually repeatedly saying that he wants the CMA in good faith to provide him with an explanation as to why they want this stay, what purpose it holds, and what benefits it has, and the reasoning behind it. So he was actually being extremely fair and on point, and wasn't willing to listen to any form of rubbish that was going to come from the CMA. Microsoft's appeal in the UK for its Activision Blizzard deal has been paused, taking a step forward with the CMA. So as long as they keep the CMA happy, that is the most important thing. Honorable Judge Marcus Smith, CAT to CMA, whatever the restructuring, Microsoft will acquire Activision. And that was the point that he made. No matter what you're doing here in this restructuring and reinvestigation and relitigation of new evidence that you're so full claiming, the judge actually turned around and said, whatever the restructuring, Microsoft will acquire Activision, whether it's with your blessing or not. So this deal is happening. It's just going to happen in 4 to 6 weeks. But the judge basically made it perfectly clear it's happening. And look, you can see the CMA lawyer here. We want to move forward with deliberate speed. So basically they're saying it's all a front. It's all a show. Basically, the CMA knows that they've been humiliated. They know that they've been embarrassed. And what they're trying to do now is save face and show that they made Microsoft bend the knee and that they managed to divest the cloud. And that's what they wanted all along, to remove cloud from Microsoft, to make it fair by giving it to EEBT, who will be the only service provider in the UK. And there's like another 4 different service providers who won't get the cloud. Only EE will. So they're pretty much creating the same problem again, but I won't go into that any more than that. Just know that it just makes no sense. But yeah, CMA again stresses they wouldn't be doing this if they didn't see that the new transaction would be in consumer interest. Greater certainty, more speed. That's basically the CMA's argument for their proposed way forward. Decisiveness and finality. In an ideal world, the CMA would save everyone the trouble, accept the Sony deal as a game changer right here and now, and allow the deal to close tomorrow. Maybe they will still consider everything could be over, but that doesn't look like it will happen. And I don't think at this point it's going to close tomorrow. I think this investigation is going to go ahead, and then they're going to finally come up and say, right, we're happy with the remedies that Microsoft has put forward, and we will now close. CMA, stubborn as hell, could have quashed it with Sony development, but are going with this. Might get stay with this argument. Now CMA explaining why the motion of stay of 2 weeks ago was a different story, but Marcus Justice Smith understands that they made an argument and that they couldn't get a council to split. I mean, the CMA actually today was actually quite good. They actually put up a really good presentation, but that's because they were working alongside Microsoft for the first time, and they were actually in coherence. The CMA is tripping over themselves to close this thing ASAP. They want to close it. The CMA is not convincing the judge. There will be some requirements then in the conditional ruling, but it would be surprising if they were impossible to be met by the CMA in the form of a witness statement. So no shortcut, but given how things went today, we should all have faith in the CMA Gov UK again. So as you can see, it's pretty much consistent. The judge didn't trust him. He actually put stuff in place so the CMA can't take the piss. He basically told them that this deal is closing with or without your blessing, so it's better to happen with your blessing. I don't know what else you can actually say. The CMA was trying to still wiggle around and get more time and get a bit more flexibility, and the judge was just saying, no, you've been given one thing to do and you're going to do that, and that's it. The court must be satisfied not only that the CMA could go down a certain procedural route hypothetically, but it must be grounded in reality. Court must be convinced that the CMA is really going to do it. And the problem with Judge Marcus Smith was he wasn't convinced until the end when he made that conditional request. He made the conditional stay, saying, I will stay this on this condition that you provide me with these documents to reassure me that you're not going to do anything stupid and screw this deal over, because this deal is happening. So if they try to do anything stupid, Microsoft are then within their rights to close the deal once the extension is done. But that's where we're at right now. So we're probably going to hear something tomorrow or Thursday from the CMA. And once they release that information, I will make a video and update you all on that. But as of right now, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's been a bit of a long one, but it was a 5-hour trial. So a 20-30 minute video, probably about 25 minutes as of recording. It's not bad, right? Managed to condense all of that into that. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Leave your comments below. Any questions you have regarding the trial, put them in the comment section below. I'll try and answer as many of the questions as I humanly can, and try to provide you full responses. Again, I can only go as far as what my legal understanding is. It's actually quite good at this point, following these cases for a while, and, you know, having studied law in university myself. So I'll try and do my best to get any of your questions. But just know that closing over the CMA would have probably been the worst thing Microsoft could have done right now if they want to do future acquisitions. By working with the CMA, making the CMA look a little bit stronger than they actually are, by showing that the CMA is making them bend the knee, it gives them that benefit of the doubt when they try to go and buy another publisher, like say Sega. The CMA won't be as intrusive or block the deal. So let's see how that works out. Thanks so much.